Hello everyone. This is the 30th part of the story, Marvel Unlimited Skills, I Can Download. Chapter 190, Arrival. But Iron Man still did not believe it. After all, no matter how powerful the enemy was before, they all destroyed them and got final victory. This time, he thought that there would be no exception. Although he believed Bruce's words, he believed that they were absolutely able to win. And he had already begun preparation. After hearing what Iron Man said, Bruce looked at the sky in the distance. No one would know the despair before Thanos came. Thanos was absolutely an extremely powerful enemy. Therefore, even he could not be said to be able to stop him, because it was a powerful enemy that he never met. Not only his power was strong, but also his mind and will. He always knew that Thanos was different from Dormammu. Although they might be at the same level, Dormammu did not have the same firm will with Thanos. No matter how much the loss was, Thanos would not stop his pace, and he was just like a practitioner, and must complete everything he wanted. Thanos was actually a very attractive person if they did not care about what he had done. Unfortunately, he would destroy half of the life of the universe. And Bruce would not let this happen. He did not care how many people would be disappointed. But he still did not want to let them down. From the moment that he came to this world, he had always tried to make him get enough power to resist the power of Thanos. Now, since he had it, he would never give up. Thanos had his own determination, and Bruce was the same. At this moment, he looked at the Iron Man who was not far away with a smile on his face. The question before was about how to defeat Thanos. At the moment, Bruce replied, "Unite together is our only way." This had always been an oral meditation of the American team. Therefore, only by collecting all the power could it threat Thanos. Bruce knew that although he was able to resist most enemies alone, it was just that the opponent's strength would not be weaker than him. More importantly, even if the battlefield was on the Earth, Thanos would be able to gather at least 4 infinite gems. The time gem was in Dr. Strange's hands now, which also meant it was in Bruce's hands. Therefore, as long as Bruce was here, it would be impossible for Thanos to take all the infinite gems. This was exactly the chance that Bruce could get a victory. After hearing Bruce's words, Iron Man understood what he meant. It was impossible to resist the enemy if they just relied on themselves. Therefore, what Bruce meant was that letting him summon all the Avengers. Only in this way could they resist this disaster, but Iron Man had broken up with Captain America. Now, he would feel very shameful if he let Captain America and others come to help them. Of course, Bruce knew this point, so he would not force him to do so. And only when the true time came could he summon the Avengers. Just as they were talking, a golden circle appeared in front of Bruce and Iron Man. Nobody knew where the golden circle was formed, it just appeared. After seeing the golden circle, Iron Man felt shocked, and activated the reactor on his chest. Almost in an instant, a plume of gold emerged on the arc reactor. And in less than a few seconds, the Iron Man was surrounded by them. This was his new armor, nano armor. Therefore, no matter it was on combat strength or defensive power, it was at the top. Is it the enemy? At the moment, Iron Man was very nervous. He looked at the golden circle and was already armed. Because Bruce had said before that the enemy would come. It was just that he did not expect that it would be so fast. As for Bruce, when he saw the golden circle, he was stunned at first and then stretched out his hand to stop the Iron Man from attacking. He knew that if he did not stop Iron Man, he would attack it directly. After seeing Bruce's gesture, Iron Man put down his own defense and looked at the people who walked from the golden circle. It was Dr. Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme. When Dr. Strange came out, he also found Iron Man, and then he saw Bruce. At this moment, as the guardian of the real world, he could almost see everything on the Earth. Of course, it would take his attention, so he would not watch this all the time. Who are you? This was the Avengers base, and Iron Man thought he should speak something as the master of the base. But Dr. Strange did not reply to him. Then he looked at Bruce and said, "Bruce, Kamartaj has trouble." When Bruce heard Dr. Strange's words, he frowned slightly. But he saw that Doctor Strange was not that nervous, then he knew it was not some terrible thing. Why don't you deal with it by yourself? You are the Sorcerer Supreme and the guardian of the real world. At the moment, Bruce looked at Doctor Strange and said directly. After hearing this sentence, Doctor Strange felt awkward. Although he was the Sorcerer Supreme, he already felt it very difficult when he faced Bruce. Then he glanced at Bruce and did not know where to start. But this matter happened in Camartage, and since he could not solve it, he only could ask for Bruce's help. Bruce, brother, please help me this time. I really can't solve it. At the moment, Doctor Strange had to say that. Because his enemy was too strong, he had to come to find help. Only Bruce attacked could it be solved. At the same time, Iron Man, who was extremely vigilant, was shocked now. The Sorcerer Supreme? The guardian of the real world? What did that mean? He didn't understand it completely. What happened to Bruce during this period? At this time, when Bruce heard Doctor Strange's request, then he looked at him and nodded. Well, I know. I'll go with you. After hearing this sentence, Doctor Strange was very happy. Because he could only turn to Bruce. Although now he was the guardian of the real world, he had not yet reached the level of the Ancient One. Well, let's go now. Otherwise, it would be too late. After saying that, Doctor Strange jumped directly into the Golden Channel, while Bruce turned around and looked at the Iron Man, who was very shocked. I have something to deal with, so you will take care of everything here. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. After hearing Bruce's words, Iron Man could only slightly nod. He did not know what to say, because he did not know anything about these things. At the moment, Iron Man suddenly recalled the sentence that Bruce had said before. Has Bruce ever gone to the magic world and helped the Earth block a catastrophe? And now it seemed true. Chapter 191, Suit. At this moment, all people came to a laboratory. Everyone looked at the location in the center of the laboratory, where there was a new battle suit. It was made by Iron Man, which was requested by Bruce. Because the plot which Bruce was experiencing was a little different from the movie, therefore, Iron Man did not give much attention to Parker. It was like this battle suit, which was that Bruce specially requested Iron Man to make it. Nanotechnology, Stark Industries Group's core device, is very perfect. At the moment, Iron Man looked at the armor in front of him and a smile appeared on his face. This was a battle suit that he had taken much effort to make, which was very powerful. Although it was not comparable to his steel armor, it was definitely strong. His steel armor was mainly defense and attack, because he was not powerful and aggressive, and he was also not a mutant like Parker, so he needed to rely on his own steel armor. But Parker was different because he had some superpower. And the most important thing was that Parker's senses needed very thin armor, otherwise it would be affected. Although armor was important, he could not ignore its own power. This was the requirement of Bruce for the Iron Man in creating Spider battle suit. Because Bruce did not want Parker to be the second generation of Iron Man, this was his goal. More importantly, Bruce had explained it at the very beginning. Only by combining his abilities with modern science and technology could he exert the greatest effect. And Bruce always let Parker do this on this point. Sometimes, they could not only rely on science and technology, but ignore their own strength. Only the combination of the two was the most important. That was why he always let Parker not forget the development of his own strength. But Bruce himself did not care about these, because his strength was beyond everything. Even without the help of science and technology, Bruce could solve everything. And he was really so strong that science and technology had no influence on him. But Parker was not the same, and his abilities were not too outstanding. Therefore, only the combination of science and technology and his own abilities was the most perfect. So Bruce himself already had a plan on this. At the moment, when Parker saw his new spider battle suit, he was filled with joy and shock. He looked at the perfect streamlined design and a strong war suit with all kinds of high-tech gatherings. He was totally shocked. This spider battle suit seemed to be born for him. Thank you, Mr. Stark. After seeing all this, Parker bowed slightly to Iron Man. He knew that this spider battlesuit was designed by Iron Man himself, because it was impossible for others to do it. When Iron Man heard Parker's words, a smile appeared on his face. "You don't need to thank me. It's Bruce's request. You have to remember that he has done a lot of things for you to let you become the Avenger." Although Iron Man was a playboy, his EQ is very high. He was arrogant to others, that was because he did not put others in his eyes at all. But Bruce was different. In his eyes, Bruce was a very powerful man, and had a high level of wisdom. Of course it was worth his respect. After listening to Iron Man's words, Parker was touched. Then he turned to look at Bruce and said again, "Thank you, Mr. Bruce." Now Parker was very touched, especially Iron Man's sentence, "He has made a lot of things for you to let you become an Avenger." And this sentence made him more firm that he must follow Bruce's footsteps closely. After seeing this, Bruce nodded slightly and did not continue to say anything. Then the crowd left here. Parker had to adapt his new battle suit, so he went to train. And Vision and War Machine also had their own things to do, so they left too. At this time, Iron Man and Bruce stood together. Both of them showed a solemn expression on their faces. "I have called scientists in various fields to help us increase our power in the shortest time." Iron Man said this. He had taken advantage of his reputation and had his superpower to call a lot of people. These people were the world's top scientists. And it was precisely because of Bruce's sentence that he understood the seriousness of the incident. He knew that they would not belittle them if they wanted to withstand the disaster. So he quickly acted. Because he considered very much on this point. At this moment, Bruce looked at the Iron Man with a smile on his face. "I hope so." When Iron Man heard Bruce's words, he frowned slightly, then he looked at Bruce. Bruce's words were not much, but it had revealed a lot of information. The Iron Man knew what he meant. Bruce's words meant the enemy was more powerful than they had imagined. Even if they gathered the best scientists on the planet to study the most powerful weapons, they still could not resist the enemy in the future at all. What exactly are we going to do? What exactly was the enemy? Iron Man knew the seriousness of the matter, and if he did not think of a way to resist it, then the whole planet would be completely destroyed. More importantly, the information disclosed by Bruce just meant the strength of the enemy. It was not the Earth which was able to resist now. Therefore, Iron Man wanted to know the enemy and wanted to know how powerful his enemy was. Of course, Bruce knew what he was thinking. At this moment, Bruce looked at the Iron Man and a solemn expression appeared on his face. "It's the most powerful enemy we've ever faced, and I think you should understand." At this moment, Iron Man heard Bruce's words, and he understood the seriousness of the matter. Bruce had emphasized it many times, so he paid great attention to it. What should we do to deal with that enemy? This was what Iron Man was most concerned about. He knew that Bruce would not say anything useless. If even Bruce recognized the strength of that enemy, then that enemy was truly powerful. And it was totally different from the enemies they had faced before. It was a truly terrifying person. At the moment, Iron Man wanted to say something, but he could not feel any hope in Bruce's words. Chapter 192, Plan. Of course, Bruce just wanted to see, and he did not have other meaning. He knew how strange this family was. But he did not give his attention to them, because they were completely unrelated to him. He was just curious. Now the plot of Thor, Ragnarok had begun, and after it, it was the plot of Avengers Alliance 3. And for Bruce, this meant the final stage. But Bruce was not clear about where the whole world would go after the plot of Avengers Alliance 3. However, for the enemy who was about to attack, Bruce was very interested. After all, it was time to prove his own strength. At the moment he first came to the world, his goal was this. Therefore, Bruce was also looking forward to this day's arrival. Thinking of this, Bruce took a deep breath and a faint smile appeared on his face. He wanted to see what the final decisive battle was like. Just as he recalled these, the long-lost system voice appeared again in his mind. "Beep, please expel Hela who will appear on Earth." Another new system task. When Bruce saw this, a hint of amazement appeared on his face. Expel Hela, who will appear on Earth. He knew that Hela would appear on Earth in the future and then fought directly with Thor and the others. But according to the later plot, Hela would definitely come back to Asgard. Bruce was very clear about that. So even without his involvement, she also would leave the Earth. But now, according to the task of the system, he had to participate in this matter so that he could accomplish the task. And he would get the energy value completing the task. If he did not go, the task could not be completed, perhaps the plot would come to another stage. After all, according to what Bruce had known, the plot had begun to deviate from the real Marvel Cinematic Universe. Therefore, he needed to promote many things. And the Hela who he would meet in the future belonged to this situation. It turned out that he needed to attack by himself. At the moment, Bruce was very calm. Hela was very powerful and could be said to be able to be compared to Odin. Such a person had the power of God level, while Bruce still did not reach the God level. The most important thing was that Hela's strength had not yet reached the peak. Bruce was quite clear about this. Therefore, if he wanted to expel Hela, he had to be stronger than her. The only thing that made Bruce reassured was that he just only needed to expel Hela far away from the Earth. Although she was the goddess of death, she had to be close to Asgard if she wanted to restore her peak power. Therefore, Earth was not a place where she could release her full power. This was also a good battle opportunity for Bruce. It seems that I have to take part in all of them. At the moment, Bruce muttered to himself. In fact, he did not want to participate in the housework of others. But in the Marvel world, many big events were among the housework of a family. Bruce did not understand this. Was a peaceful family not good? Thinking of this, Bruce slightly smiled and then he opened his own property panel. Name, Bruce Lite. Identity, Level 6 Agent. Ability, the War God Body, the God Bloodline, the Godly Fighting Ability, the Thunder Tribulation, the Divine Power, the Acer's Strength, the Magic Ball, the Body Blur, the High-Speed Movement, the Spider Telepathy, the Body and Shield Oneness, Dark Magic Energy, the Source of God Power. Warehouse, Super Vibranium Shield, Mark 8 Armor, Ant-Man's Battle Suit, Infinite Edition. Balance, $2 million. Energy value, 13 W points. All the energy values were almost zero now. It made Bruce feel helpless. In recent missions, he obtained a large amount of energy value. Among them, there were more than 100,000 energy values. But sometimes, he needed to take a terrifying amount of energy value to download some abilities. Therefore, his energy value seemed always insufficient. This was Bruce's current idea. If he did not think of a way to get a large amount of energy value, then he would not be able to become strong faster. He did not want this. In this world, strength was everything, so he needed it. Now he had many abilities to integrate, but unfortunately he really did not have too much energy value. Therefore, he had to slow down his pace. Waiting for Hela's appearance and then completing the task to get energy value. Bruce was confident in fighting with Hela, so he did not need to make so many plans. But in that battle, Thor would lose his hammer. And this may be an opportunity in Bruce's view. Before he was in contact with Thor, downloading Mjolnir required 200,000 energy values. It could be said to be very horrible. This led to Bruce having no capacity to download the other abilities of Thor. But this time, Bruce might have a way to get the Mjolnir. Even if it was crushed, he still had a way. He had the Eye of Agamotto, that was, Time Gem. Although the Mjolnir had a horrible power, which was created by Odin and the King of Dwarves. However, it could not compare with Time Gem at all. Therefore, it was very simple for Bruce to restore the original state of the Mjolnir. Of course, he needed to transform the Mjolnir, otherwise, it would only help Thor recapture his hammer. On the contrary, he did not get any benefit. This was not what Bruce wanted. How could it be possible that Bruce would do something useless? As for the Avengers base and the Iron Man, Bruce had warned them before. Whether Iron Man was really going to contact Captain America, it was up to him. No matter what, Bruce's plan was to assemble all the Avengers, and then launched an unprecedented war. Only by doing so would it be able to overcome the Thanos completely. As for what would happen afterwards, Bruce did not want to give his attention to them. After all this was planned, Bruce calmed down. After all, he would face Hela and Thanos in the future. He had to be fully prepared. Only in this way could he face everything. Anyway, in his eyes, this was the last part of the main line in the Marvel movie universe. As for the future, what the multiverse would look like, it was not what he should consider now. Chapter 193 Ragnarok. During this period, Bruce stayed in Kamar-Taj all the time. He did not pay attention to other things. As for where Doctor Strange sent Odin to, Bruce also did not ask. But according to his guess, perhaps it was the place in the movie. Bruce could foresee this. After all, it was the origin of the Norse mythology. It was also the place where Odin had fought before. Maybe it would be the next Asgard in the future. And after completing these things, Doctor Strange had a deeper level understanding about being an Sorcerer Supreme. In fact, he had not been accustomed to it until now. The only thing that Sorcerer Supreme needed to do was to protect the real world. Dr. Stranger had not met other people's invasions, and Dormammu's invasion was also expelled by Bruce. Therefore, it was inevitable that he would be nervous when he saw Odin this time. Of course, it was also because of this, he really knew what he should do as the Sorcerer Supreme. It was like this time when Odin came, he did not know what to do at all. But he understood that there might be more such things in the future. And it was impossible to rely on Bruce for everything. Thinking about this, Doctor Strange had a deeper understanding of his responsibilities. He decided to protect the real world by relying on his own strength, because he was the Sorcerer Supreme. For these, Bruce understood him very much. Over the past few days, he had been focusing on what happened at the Avenger base. And the control of his own abilities. Sometimes, he would train Sorcerer Supreme by fighting with him. Of course, Doctor Strange always lost every time. Because no matter how hard he learned, he was really no match for Bruce. Finally, Bruce was always able to defeat him easily. Although Doctor Strange had some mental preparation, he was still a little frustrated. Because Bruce defeated him in a variety of ways, almost there was not a way was the same. The two were almost fighting for an entire month. But in the end, Doctor Strange lost in a variety of different ways. This made him very depressed. But it was also because of this, Doctor Strange was increasingly working hard. He was a proud man who did not want to be defeated easily by someone else. Therefore, his growth was also astonishing during this month. Although it was not comparable to the Sorcerer Supreme of the past dynasties, it was already improving in a steady way. And this day, Doctor Strange was recalling the reason for the failure. At this moment, a glimmer of light suddenly appeared in his eyes. Is it also Asgard? Doctor Strange was a little strange. Then he wanted to go to Bruce. But he quickly suppressed his own idea. Last time, Bruce had helped him, this time, of course, he could not do so. So he decided to do it by himself. And at this moment, a place in New York. Thor and Loki stood in front of a demolished nursing home, and both of them were confused. I am sure that I put him here. At the moment, Loki said this, looking at the demolished building in front of him, a bad feeling appeared in his heart. Thor brought him to find Odin, but now Odin was missing. Loki, you know Odin's power is decreasing, and the earth is far away from Asgard. He can always have a danger of life at any time. At the moment, Thor looked at his younger brother, with a hint of anger on his face. He stopped Ragnarok not long ago, and now wanted to let his father solve the answer for himself. But his father was gone and was exiled by his brother, which made him extremely angry. You must find him, Loki. Thor had no choice but to let Loki take action. After all, Loki was known as the strongest master in Asgard and he must have a way. Of course, his magic abilities all studied from Odin's wife. No, what is this? When Loki just wanted to find a way, a golden circle appeared at his feet. Then Loki fell into the golden circle completely. There was only one card left. Loki? At the moment, Thor held Mjolnir, which had already turned into an umbrella, in his hand and touched the card. But there was no response. Then Thor took the card directly. There was an address on it which was the holy place of New York. This was absolutely information. At this moment, Thor directly walked towards the address. Then he came to the holy place of New York soon. When he walked directly into the holy place, the gate was closed. Thor, the son of Odin, god of thunder, why did you come to Earth? Just as Thor was confused, Doctor Strange's voice appeared. Then a solemn expression appeared on Thor's face. He slowly picked up the umbrella in his hand and looked at the figure floating in the air. He did not know where he was, but he felt a powerful power on Doctor Strange. This was a crisis. You can put down your own weapons. At the moment, Doctor Strange glanced at the legendary god of thunder and said directly. And Thor also felt that there was no danger, and then he put down the Mjolnir. When he just put down the Mjolnir, the whole scene changed directly. Thor was shocked. Although this power was strange to him, he was a person of Asgard. He also recognized the origin of such a force. He picked up one thing and looked at Doctor Strange in front of him and said, "So, there's a necromancer on Earth now." At the moment, Thor laughed slightly and he tried to put a look on God's dignity. It was just that when he had just put down the thing in his hand, the final result was that he was busy. The thing that was used for decoration was completely collapsed. Put that thing down, and accurately say that I am the master of secrets. Then Doctor Strange said this, and he did not have much defense to the god of thunder in front of him. Because the person in front of him was a member of the Avengers and may have known Bruce. Therefore, he was very polite. "All right, necromancer, who are you? Why are you finding me?" At the moment, Thor looked at Doctor Strange in front of him and said directly. Although he was very cautious, he did not feel the danger, so he also relaxed his vigilance. "I'm Dr. Stephen Strange. The Sorcerer Supreme, the guardian of the real world. Now, there are several questions that I want to ask you." At this moment, Doctor Strange found his dignity as Sorcerer Supreme and looked very calm. And all of this was under Bruce's expectations. Thor: Ragnarok's plot officially started. Chapter 194, Meeting. In fact, when Thor came to the Earth, Bruce had foreseen it. Although he was not a Sorcerer Supreme, he could sense it. These were all in Bruce's control. It was just that he did not appear directly, because it did not have too much meaning to do so. Therefore, he had been watching Doctor Strange's every move, but he watched him secretly. At this moment, Bruce sat in Camartage and waited quietly. He was like an existence who controlled everything, and nothing could escape from his eyes. This was just his purpose, which was to control everything. No matter who they were, they could become a pawn in his hands. Although it seemed to be very cold, Bruce did not hesitate. There was an old saying in the Chinese nation, "Man is expected to live for himself." He was such a man with such a character, even if he was powerful enough to be a superhero, but he did not choose to do so. Protecting all human beings. Bruce acknowledged that this was a lofty ideal. But this was not his goal, and he had no such lofty will. He always was like this. What he had done before was all for himself. Thinking of this, Bruce once again calmed down his mind and sat on the spot, waiting for everything. On the other side, Doctor Strange and Thor stand together. It was just that they didn't know what they were doing right now was all known by Bruce. Of course, Doctor Strange was facing Thor this time. Bruce had taught him a sentence. Only real strength could be respected by someone else no matter whether they were standing. That was to say, only strength was everything. This sentence could be said to have left a very deep impression on him. If he wanted to do something, he had to fully demonstrate his strength. That was why he was doing so. If he wanted to let Thor fear him, he had to show his strength completely. That was why he did that before, to let Thor feel his own power. And Thor was a person who was totally not proficient in magic. Therefore, when faced with Doctor Strange, he was unable to keep up with him. This was normal, and it was also one of the means that Doctor Strange threatened Thor. More importantly, He knew that Loki was a danger to the Earth, so he isolated him from the Earth at the very beginning. At this moment, Thor looked at the Doctor Strange in front of him. His power made him fearful before, but he did not fear him completely. But he was really curious now that there were so many powerful people on Earth. What's the problem with you? At the moment, Thor laughed and looked at Doctor Strange in front of him and waited for his question. The present Doctor Strange smiled and said directly, "Please sit down." At the next moment, Thor sat on a chair. He was a little confused by this. "Have some tea or something?" Doctor Strange just sat opposite him and looked at Thor in front of him. This was his most dependent ability. Of course, it was already enough to deal with Thor. At this moment, Thor wanted to say something, but a cup of tea appeared in his hand the next moment. The feeling of being controlled by someone else made him feel bad, but he said directly, "I don't like drinking tea. It can be anything, except tea." After Thor said that, a huge wine glass appeared in his hand, and then slowly a glass of wine was in his hands. He glanced at Doctor Strange, then drank the wine in the cup. "I want to know why you've come to Earth. If you're alone, I won't have any opinions, but you brought your brother Loki. You know, he has harmed the Earth." At the moment, Doctor Strange officially began asking questions. He looked at Thor in front of him and said directly. When Thor drank the wine in the glass, then he saw the wine in the cup being full again and again. Was this the power of the necromancer? Thor thought this in his mind now, but he was not so intelligent in this aspect, so he would not try to think about it. Then he looked at Doctor Strange in front of him and said directly, "I'm looking for our father. You know who he is, the Master of Asgard, the All-Father, so you should know the seriousness of the matter. As for Loki, please rest assured. He will not make any trouble while I am here." Thor was very confident that he looked at Doctor Strange in front of him and appeared a feeling of shock. But after hearing his words, Doctor Strange slightly frowned. He narrowed his eyes and said again, "As far as I know, even if you are here, you still can't stop your brother." After hearing this, Thor was a little awkward. It was not that Doctor Strange was wrong, but Doctor Strange was very right. Because it was impossible for Loki to obey him completely, from the past to the present. Since Odin told them two brothers, only one of them could inherit Asgard's throne. Loki began to assassinate Thor for more than 1,000 years. This was their brotherhood, and it could be said to be very envious. Asgard, they were not real gods, but the gods were more powerful than humans. In the universe, there were really many races that could compare with their Asgards. They just had a longer life than others, not the real god. Although they were called gods, their lifespan was only thousands of years. For these, Odin was more clear than they were. But Loki had always regarded himself as a god. God on Earth could rule 9 realms. That was why he had such a precaution for Loki. Therefore, Sorcerer Supreme was extremely cautious. "I can assure you. Don't worry," Thor once again said, making a guarantee that could not be guaranteed by himself. But after hearing his words, Doctor Strange shook his head. However, he did not give his attention to this, because he knew Thor was a member of the Avengers. The god of thunder was standing on this side of the earth, and the reason why he let them come here was because he knew their purpose. That is to say, as long as I help you find Odin, you will leave, with all the relevant people. At the moment, Doctor Strange said this. This marks the end of part 30 of the story Marvel Unlimited Skills, I Can Download. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.